Good morning. Today is Sunday, August 20th. Thought I'd do a little video to let you guys just kind of get an idea of what the garden's looking like right now. Some of it's looking okay. There's parts of it though that look pretty bad. I'm sure many of you can relate. This summer has been just brutal. We're going on almost 3 months with no rain, and I think it's been like over 100 for like, I don't know, 30 days or something like that. And I mean, a few days have been like 99, but at that point it really doesn't matter. It's just too hot for too long. So, but anyways, I will show you the garden because, like I said, I get up and water about 3 times a week, hand water, and that has helped save a lot of things. But there are areas of the garden that, just for whatever reason, are just completely suffering no matter how much water I give them. So it's reality. But let's go ahead and take a look at how the garden's doing. And my heart goes out to all of you guys that your gardens probably aren't doing so well either. And I'm barely awake because I stayed up late last night watching a movie with my son. He was in town, so that was really nice. I enjoyed his visit. Let's get started. All right, this area over here was filled with a lot of native plants. This really surprised me. These are all salvias, or were. Um, Probably dead. Maybe they might come back from the roots next year. We'll see. This desert willow that I planted is doing fabulous. Thank you, Jesus. It's got lots of really pretty blooms on it. Let me get over here. The sago palm here is getting some sun scorch. Not much I can do about that other than I'm put another umbrella. I don't have enough umbrellas. I put this umbrella here to kind of shield this loropetalum that I've been working really hard to save. We'll see how it does. It might be like a losing battle. I just really like the color of them. They're the purple color. These are some perennial hibiscus over here, and they are actually doing pretty well. Let me show you those blooms on the desert willow. Here we are. Yeah, just beautiful. And the bougainvillea over there is blooming great. This is a plant that will almost certainly die back down to the roots, and if we have a severe winter like we did last several winters, it'll kill it completely. So it would just need to be replaced. Even the purple heart plant is kind of suffering, hanging on. These two barberries that I planted are really struggling. I've been just watering them almost daily. So it's just, for any type of plant to get established during this type of weather, it's almost, it's just a real struggle. So, and then of course the Nandinas right here, because they're located along the concrete the concrete deck of the pool, they're getting fried a little bit. So I'm constantly watering them. The dwarf Katie Ruellia with these pretty purple flowers, they're actually hanging in there pretty good. So I am observing which plants are doing well, which ones are not, so that way next year I will fill in more of the area with plants that are doing well. Okay, so that's kind of that area. Oh, I'm so excited. The red rocket crepe myrtle, the red one there, is actually doing really well. This was a crepe myrtle that I thought had completely died last year. It was like laying on the ground like a stick with nothing on it, and I thought I was going to throw it in the trash, but I thought, well, let me just, put it up right and just water the heck out of it and look at it now. So, hey, there's some hope there. The Taylor junipers are doing great. I love them. They give that look of the Italian cypress, but they're part of the eastern red juniper family. They can handle our heat and humidity much better than the Italian cypress. All right, let's go over to another part of the garden. Here's an area, a lot of this here is, I believe, fall aster. There's a crazy bug. And it's spread a lot, and I don't water anything, but I like the spikiness look of it. I mean, even though it's not a spiky plant, it's real soft. But hopefully in the fall it will get the purple flowers. I've planted a Mexican bush sage here, a blue plumbago back there. This area here was filled with the purple heart again, and you can see it's just really struggling. And then there was a few other plants interspersed. That one there that looks all kind of brownish is just a pokeweed. It just came up planted from a bird, and I don't ever water that because I mean, it's a pretty looking plant, but it's not one that I really want to encourage to grow because it can be a little bit invasive. But at this point, sounds pretty good. These are some other plants I've put in, such as some echinacea and some dianthus that have, they're live, but they're not really thriving, that's for sure. I think what I'm going to do in the fall or early spring is just rip out any of this other stuff here and just completely fill this bed with nothing but purple heart. That way it'll have a larger visual impact, and it'll be a bed that I only have to worry about one plant and its cultural needs, such as watering. Then we go over here, the crepe myrtle's peeling its bark like it normally does every year. I just haven't had really the time or the motivation to peel it off because I've been so busy just trying to keep things alive. The plant, not portulacas, but purslanes that are in baskets. They've done really well. I water them probably like at least once a week, maybe twice, and they're just hanging in there. So they haven't really flowered, but they're surviving and they look fairly decently. These right here are a bunch of crepe myrtles that I've had sitting in their containers most of the summer. They don't look so hot, but they're alive, and I'm waiting just for the fall so I can put a lot of them in the ground. Crepe myrtles are pretty darn drought tolerant and give you a lot of bang for your buck because they give nice color. So okay, let's go down the pathway here. See, even like well, this Nandina here is about as old as the house, about 50 years old, so it looks pretty healthy, but you can see even in that a little bit of thinning as it tries to conserve its energy. Over here I had a Japanese Aurelia die. No matter how much water I gave it, it just, didn't make it, so there's a loss, but it is what it is. This is another perennial hibiscus. I can't believe it. It's actually got two beautiful blooms on it, and it's in a pot. So I watered that one real thoroughly. I water most of the plants pretty thoroughly. These ground covers, Asiatic jasmines, are really struggling, and I'm second guessing now putting them here because if any of you have any Asiatic jasmine like this, sometimes it'll get all tangly, and I have a water spigot over here that I need to gain access to. So in the long run, I wouldn't want to be tripping inside the Asiatic jasmine. So sometimes nature helps us out. Now in this large container, obviously things are not looking so great. The Marvel Mahonia that I had such great high hopes for is really droopy. And there may be several reasons for this. Sometimes the soil in these large containers gets a little compact and could possibly cause poor drainage. Um, so it's hard to know if it's that or if it's just the intensity of the heat, and maybe it's not holding enough water. So these are one of the conundrums with raised beds or large containers like this. You're never quite sure what's causing the problem with the plant. So you can either be making the problem worse by continuing to water the heck out of it when it really should be just not watered and so it can dry out, or you just need to keep watering even more so it'll perk up. So anyways, this is my angel's trumpet. It keeps setting out new leaves occasionally, but then they just end up drying up. So probably just, too hot. All right. Sorry about the quality of the filming. The sun's coming out. I probably should have done this another day. We have some lantanas here that are in pots. They perk up usually when I water them really well. It's kind of hard to tell what's what. But the shrimp plant is in the ground and it's doing well. We have a lot of wasps flying all over the yard, so they have a home somewhere. We've searched high and wide for where their home is so we can get rid of them, but at this point doesn't seem like one of our big worries. Here's a beautiful dark leaf crepe myrtle that I planted. Has some pretty purple blooms on it. Loving that. Trying to keep that one alive too. At this point, there are certain plants that I'm kind of prioritizing over other plants. Like, okay, let me let this one go out. I can't even remember what these plants are, but I think they're Coreopsis, and they're struggling. But in my mind, my logic is when it comes to this type of weather situation is I put more effort into saving the larger plants. Like this is a dwarf pomegranate, and it's doing great actually. Been keeping it well watered, and the larger plants are not as easily replaced in my mind as some smaller plants, such as those Coreopsis that we just looked at. Here is a Artemisia plant that I have in a pot. It looks like it's pretty much done for, so I'll probably just let it bite the dust and put my efforts elsewhere into watering things. Here's some trailing lantana. It seems to be doing really well. So yay. Over here I had a gardenia plant and it was doing so well, and then all of a sudden it just started dying off in sections one by one, so it's pretty much a goner. Now this plant, the gardenias, usually don't do the best for us here because they like acidic soil, but I have it in a pot, as you can see, so that usually rectifies the acidity problem. But I think it's just, again, just too hot for it, so it is what it is. So that plant will probably be a casualty. Let's go over here. This is my pineapple guava tree, and I've been working really hard at keeping it alive. It was looking so badly a few weeks ago, so I just watered the heck out of it, and now it's perked up a little bit, looking good. I love the orangish bark on it, and it gives beautiful pink little flowers when it does flower. There's another one of those Loropetalums. It's supposed to be purple, but here this one's turned green, despite the fact that it says that it holds its purple color even in the heat. But this is in a shady, protected location, so, and it's near a sprinkler head, so I think that has what's made this one look so much better than the one I showed you guys before. That is a star jasmine vine, which gives us the most fragrant flowers you can imagine, and it's actually doing fairly well, so I've got some high hopes for it. Let's go look at a different section of the garden. Here's a couple of more of those dark-leafed crepe myrtles that I planted. This one's actually blooming, so happy. And then got that one, and I've got this larger one here, and it has some blooms on it as well. Yay! Happy, happy. See here, this area, oh, it's been a source of like great frustration and a little bit of sadness. I just don't know what's going on in this area. I think what happened was that right there was our giant fig tree that Kevin planted for his mom probably in, I'm gonna say around 2004, 2005 maybe, and it just, over the years, it grew huge. It used to be like way up in the air like that, but it was damaged in the freeze of 2021, like severely, like huge branches up in the air, 15 feet up in the air, were just dead. It looked horrible. So we cut it way back severely, and all these parts that you see that are dead now were fully green and even had figs on them. It was like, yay, it's coming back. But because of the fact that the branches, were so much lower now, this Anaqua tree, which was getting afternoon shade, was now getting the full sun all day long. And as you can see, the leaves on it, crunchy and dead. My only hopes is that it might come back once the weather, I don't know, returns to a more normal state, whatever that is nowadays. But it might be toast. This is a red buckeye. I know it's kind of hard to distinguish what's what, but that's why I'm just pointing out the names. But it usually comes back every year. It defoliates in the summer. That is totally normal for this little tree, ornamental tree. But it gets the most beautiful red blooms in the spring, so we will see how that does. Again, this is a leather leaf. Leather leaf, not viburnum, but it is a plant that likes semi to full shade, and that's what it was in when the fig tree was large. Now it's getting way too much sun, so I don't know. I'm thinking about putting some type of shade cloth up here to protect it. Same situation with my gilt edge Elaeagnus shrubs. They've been in the ground like 4 years, and they were just doing beautifully up until a few weeks ago, and then all of a sudden they're just getting fried. So I've been continuing to water them, and hoping that once the weather turns a little bit cooler and we get some rain, please Lord, that they will be resilient enough to pop back. There's my Mexican olive, and boy, I just noticed some brown leaves on that one. I hadn't noticed that before, so there's another one that's continuing to struggle. But when I see blooms like this on a crepe myrtle, then it gives me hope and some motivation to keep going. There is a Vitex, and it's actually blooming as well. Yay, with a little bee. Pollinators. Alright, this is my evergreen clematis. Not looking so hot, but I continue to water it. So the Taylor junipers here are doing fairly well. They're not quite as robust as the other one, and believe it or not, ironically, because these get morning sun but afternoon shade, and this is a plant that normally likes full sun. So I don't know. This is a cutleaf vitex tree that my good friend Alberto Del Rio gave me. It's lost probably at least over half of its leaves, so it's hanging in there, but it's really suffering, and if things don't change before too long, I'm afraid that it might go the way of several other trees. Over here, I had planted a Brody juniper, which I have one in the Japanese garden. It's a relative of the Juniperus virginiana, the eastern red cedar. Always does well. It has a teeny bit of little green in it, but I stopped watering it because so much of the plant has been killed. It's better just to start over, because it would take years, if not ever, it would never recover. So again, have to start over. And one of the problems with starting over is plants, many of these plants don't become available in the nursery until like April, which is way too late to plant here in San Antonio. Planting time is November, sometimes October if it's not too hot. I've planted a lot of Texas mountain laurels. Those are pretty much tried and true, even though a few of those are being tested. This one has been in the ground for about maybe 5 or 6 months, and it's just doing great. Of course, I've been watering the heck out of it. Again, this is the fig tree. This is our native Texas sable palm. It's doing great. I wish this one was taller. I have a much more mature one around the corner that I'll show you in a moment. This one, is kind of impeding the walkway, but I'm going to ask my palm tree friend on ways I can get it to grow a little faster, and I'm sure it has something to do with fertilization. I don't really fertilize any of my plants, which I'm going to start doing in the fall, I believe. I have to talk to some more knowledgeable people on fertilization. But neighborhood dogs are going crazy. This is another Mexican olive, very wilty. This was a crepe myrtle. This was one put out by the National Arboretum, so I'm just shocked that it's not doing well. So who knows if that will make it. Now, one of the problems with mountain laurels is they tend to get these little worms. And look at that, it just, the worms like to eat the foliage, and then they leave their little spider web type things on the plant. It rarely kills the plant, it just doesn't look good. And you can spray them with a, it's called a BT, Bessa. It's just something that works. Sorry, I'm still not awake. Here's some vines that I planted, and they're doing well. A passion vine. This is a Mexican flame vine. Beautiful orange daisy-like flowers. It's doing great. Here's a row of mountain laurels that I've put in. I'm going to try to trim as a hedge instead of trees. These are some Obsession Andinas. They've lost their red color in the heat, but hopefully in the fall those will give me some nice fall color. Keeping fingers crossed. There's George. Hey, George. Hey, buddy. The cats are always enjoying the backyard. Hey, how are ya? Come here. Oh, there you are. Good boy. All right, let's see. Here's that more mature Texas sable palm that I was telling you about. The most problems I see on it is little leaf tip burn. Totally normal each year. And I'm going to be cutting off probably an entire ring or two of the fronds in the fall, and that way it continues to grow taller and taller. This area has actually done better than I expected, and I hope it stays that way. I've got a dwarf bottle brush. It gets beautiful red flowers when it flowers. There's that another gilt edge Elaeagnus, like the two over there that aren't doing well. This is how beautiful it looks. This one's not quite as full because it's in almost full shade, but at least it's alive. So that's what we're striving for at this point, is just being alive. There's another star jasmine that I planted. It has some drying browning parts on it, but hopefully the plant will make it. Here is a hibiscus that's just doing great in the pot. It was blooming the other day. I'm keeping it well watered, so it's doing much better than I had ever hoped. There's another friendly little wasp. Where do you live? Where do you live so I can destroy your home? I know a lot of people say wasps serve a good purpose, but when it's around the pool area where people are, sometimes not the best thing to have. Oh, look at the canna. It's blooming. Wow. Yay, another happy moment. And this is our red banana tree, which has lost most of its red color in the heat. These are some other cannas, and they're not blooming, but they're hanging in there. I put a little hand sprinkler in there for about 10 minutes twice a week to keep them from completely going crunchy and dying. Here's a windmill palm. Some of the branches on it are kind of weeping a little bit more than normal. I'm guessing it's due to the extended heat and drought, but I think it's gonna be okay. This is one of my favorite palms, the windmill palm, and it breezed right through the winter of 2021, 9 degrees, 3 nights in a row. So definitely a plant to keep on your list if you like the tropical look, the windmill palm. Here's another palm. This one got severely damaged and I thought had died in the freeze of 2021. It's the Mediterranean or the European fan palm. Chamrops humilis is the botanical name. Probably not pronouncing it correctly, but at least I know it. So this is another palm to keep on your list if you like the tropical look, but for sure our native Sabal texana or Sabal mexicana. They're a little slow growing, one of its negative characteristics, but at least it thrives. Back here in the courtyard are my two beautiful prized Natchez crepe myrtles. I mean, the color on that bark, how can you beat that? I mean, it's stunning. So it reminds me of the paper bark maple, which is one of my favorite ornamental maples, but they just do not do well here. So this is the second best option in my opinion for that beautiful cinnamon colored bark. Here is another star jasmine that I planted. Obviously, I'm wanting some nice fragrance in the garden. This one's really struggling, so I'm not sure if this is kind of a low area in the courtyard, and I'm wondering if the drainage is kind of poor. Again, this is another one that's hard to tell. Am I overwatering it? Am I underwatering it? Is the heat and drought just too much for it? So that's why it's struggling. Will it bounce back in the spring or in the fall even with cooler weather and some rain? Time will tell. These are some asparagus ferns in pots. They're doing great. These are one of the best ferns for our area. This one's called foxtail. So there's another mountain laurel that I planted that I'm hoping will survive and even thrive eventually. And then I have a couple of loquats in large containers because the ones I had in the ground were severely damaged in that freeze and almost died. So I thought, well, I'm just going to put these in pots. But even now I can see that there is some struggling going on here. There's another mountain laurel that I planted back there because I'm needing some privacy from our neighbor there. They have a upstairs window, and they're really nice neighbors, but you know, the courtyard needs to feel protected and kind of enclosed. And so there's this big gap right here in this corner that looks over into the alleyway. I did have a large bottle brush here at one time. I made the terrible mistake of deciding to move it, transplant it, and it died. I've never had luck with transplanting anything. The few things that I've transplanted, they always die. So I really should have left that, but it probably would have died in the freeze of 21 for sure, because I've lost several other large ones before. So the only bottle brushes that I'm really going with nowadays are the little dwarf ones, and if they die, it doesn't leave a big gaping hole in the landscape like this area has. And I've tried several things in this area: Japanese yews, the podocarpus, I tried Indian hawthorn, the rapsiolus. In fact, I had two of those on either side of the crepe myrtles. Over here you can see the remaining trunk of one that died. Just hasn't rotted out yet. This is our little kitty cemetery. Got a couple of cats that are buried here, and so little statues that we've put up to help remember them. Oh, and I know this is a long video, and I'm getting tired, and it's getting hot. Sun's coming out. So anyways, that's just kind of an update on the garden. So, you know, I try not to be too negative about it, but it's so difficult to see certain things just struggling and eventually knowing that they're eventually going to die anyways, and making decisions on whether to just stop watering something and letting it go in favor of watering something next to it that has a much better chance of surviving. You know, sometimes you have to make those hard choices, but I do get up in the morning. I start watering about 6:30 and I'm done about 8:30, so there's a 2-hour worth of watering. But that has become actually kind of meditative for me. Obviously today's not a day that I water. I'll water on Tuesday and on Thursdays and Saturdays. It kind of trains the plants to send their roots down deeper and make them more drought tolerant. But when the weather's like this, man, I don't know if they're being trained to do anything other than just stay alive. Oh, here's another wonderful thing that makes me smile. This is an evergreen wisteria, and look at the bloom on that. It's got a bloom there, it's got a bloom over there, and I've got another one over here. Just stunning. And it's aromatic. So I will leave you guys with this, and I hope everyone has a good day, and just keep pressing on, folks. That's what I'm trying to do. There's got to be relief at some point, right? Right? Hope everyone has a good day. Bye.